So here I am again doing more body work on this Volkswagen. It is obviously a long process. If any of you guys are body guys, you know how long these things take. I'm trying to do it as correctly as I can. I know I am skipping some little things here and there. Obviously, if I was trying to do this perfectly, I would have sandblasted it, but that's not how we're doing this car. So as you can see, we got a lot of it sanded down. This area on this front fender is basically the last big portion of bodywork that I have to do before I get it primed. The roof in the quarters in the back, all of this back here and all this on and everything on this side is pretty much all set. This front half was really good. As you can see, I have taken the doors off now. The doors are all set to go pretty much, besides doing up and around the windows. But all of the body work down low is good, and then I just have to go around and take off some of the paint off the hinges and the front edge, and then obviously sand the back of the doors. But the back of the doors I don't think have ever been painted. I think everybody just painted the outside, so there's not much. So that's going to be, you know, a quick little sand with 180 and scuff it down. So the doors are almost set, the body's almost set. The hardest part that I've had with this, the hardest thing I got going on with this is all the layers of paint. So as you can see right here, how many times this has been painted, and obviously there's body work in it, which this fender was hit really bad, and I straightened a lot of it back out to make it nicer. It is not perfect, but once again, this is just a driver, so it's got all these layers of paint everywhere. So when you sand it down to get to the metal, you end up with really thick layers. So this is the hardest thing that I'm coming up with, is sanding all that down, because if I prime that, it's not going to hide that much of a layer. So I gotta go around this whole thing, you know, right before I'm ready to prime it, and make sure every edge is down. The other thing is, like in here where they painted over, you can see I can scrape that off with my fingernail because they didn't scuff the paint underneath. So basically everywhere where this paint is, I need to sand it off in the jams all up around here, because it is all flaking off. You can scrape it off with your fingernail, but I need to take all that off before I prime and paint it, or else my paint will flake off. You can see, you know, right here, they just didn't scuff anything underneath. So that's the other thing I have to deal with, is making sure I get every edge of paint and, you know, every flaky bit of paint off. That'll be a little time consuming. It was basically like that all around the edge and where they taped up next to the windows, which I've already pretty much done all of that. But because we are changing the color ever so slightly, I am painting the dash and all the jams, so I got to make sure that this is all sanded out really well. Other than that, it actually is looking good. Like I said, the roof is all set. If you guys have been following along, it has been taking me quite a while to do this, but this is what's going to set it apart from just looking okay and looking better than okay. It's not going to be a show car. It's not going to be perfect. I know that. But hopefully when it's out in the sun, it is nice and shiny. It is pretty straight. You know, all the lines look pretty good. There's no waves in the doors or the fenders or anything like that. I'm just going to keep on sanding this side down, you know, fill in anywhere I need to, make sure everything's good, and then I'm going to go around all the edges and take away all that flaky paint, which is going to be a process, because everywhere you look, you'll find another little bit. So hopefully I can do that. Hopefully I can do that pretty easily. I'm not painting inside here. We ordered carpet. We ordered the carpet kit that covers up on the struts and covers, you know, everything. So I don't have to paint inside the trunk area. Obviously I'm going to paint, you know, this area and up and around. But it's actually coming out pretty good. Fairly happy with the way it is. Obviously, if you guys do any restorations and you know, you do this stuff, there's always things that you wish weren't done before you touched it, or, you know, you had more time or more money or whatever to do more stuff. So obviously if I had to sandblast it, it would have been a lot easier, but I could have found a lot more dents that someone's already filled in before. So, you know, I'm just making this nice. I actually did get the paint in for this, so I'm gonna go open up that can and I'll show you guys what it looks like. I got the gallon of paint right next to me. It is Volkswagen code LY3U. I saw this on an Audi A6. I think it was a 2018 or 19 Audi A6 at work. It was a nice looking red, but it had a tiny little bit of metallic. It is not a 3-stage, but it's got a nice little bit of metallic that in the sun you can see. It brightens it up a little bit, but it's not, you know, a crazy paint to spray or to match or anything. So I brought it home, showed it to my mom. She did like it, so we ordered it up. We ordered Limco base coat. I know it's somewhat of a cheaper brand, but you know, this isn't a show car like I keep on saying. So we didn't want to spend, you know, 3 times as much money for paint when, you know, you can see what I'm doing to the car right now. I'm making it as straight as possible, but we're not, you know, going down to bare metal and making this perfect. So it didn't seem to make a lot of sense to pay 3 times as much for the paint when we're not really giving it 3 times better the job. So I'm going to show you guys what the paint looks like right now. So here it is. And I don't know if, I'm trying to get in the sun for you guys. I don't know if you'll see it, but there is a little bit of metallic that, you know, brightens it up when it's in the sun. But it's a nice shade of red. So everybody's got their own opinion on paint and what looks good to them and what kind of, you know, color they think it is. If it's dark, you know, white, pink, maroon, you know, if we're talking about red colors, but it's got a little bit metallic. I think it's gonna look good. And one of the reasons why I think it's going to look really good on this Volkswagen, because with the Beetle, it's got a lot of curves. You know, everything's pretty much round. There isn't a flat panel on it. Basically the doors in the quarters, you know, right there are the only flat surfaces. With this Volkswagen, you know, when it's outside and the sun is hitting the tops of all the rounded fenders, the rounded hood, the rounded roof, I think it's gonna look really good. My mom was trying to pick out a solid red and not have a metallic. I really didn't want to do a 3-stage. I didn't want to have to paint it. I didn't want to have to worry about everything matching and, you know, the cost. Obviously a 3-stage red is going to be the most expensive paint basically you can buy. So we didn't want to get into that. But like I said, when I saw this Audi A6 come into work, I was like, that's a pretty nice color. So I talked her into having a metallic red. It's gonna be base coat, clear coat, obviously application. It's not gonna be single stage. That's the last couple paint jobs that they put on this car was single stage. So it'll be base clear. But that's about it. I'm gonna get back to doing some body work right now. Hopefully I get this thing done pretty soon and get it primed, because once I get it primed, if I get a nice day, I'm gonna get it painted. So stay tuned, come back, check me out, and thanks for watching.